And we are live. High five.
Yay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good morning for
Good
me,
morning.
but good evening for everyone else.
Good morning, sweetie. I want to welcome you back, my co host, my partner,
Yes.
and to a
Thank you.
show that I hope is not controversial. It's a show that I have been wanting to do for quite some time. As you know, I am fascinated with history. I am fascinated with science. I'm fascinated with religion. And I am fascinated with a combination of all three. And um, when I was a kid, I used to not rent, but check out these prehistoric books from the library and read about dinosaurs and the Tyrannosaurus and Brontosaurus and all these prehistoric animals, flying
Hmm.
birds, and so forth. But there were also people, we call them, predated humans, um, cavemen, etc., etc. There were also a part of this prehistoric um, questioning that I had. And growing up in a fairly religious household, we would always talk about the book of Genesis, and Genesis opens up so profoundly. In the beginning, let there be light, and then there was some passages in there that kind of described the first humans, but
Right.
there was uh, um, an opening, there was a gap, so to speak, a gap about why wasn't there any conversations and dialogue about the prehistoric people and the prehistoric creatures of that time. And ever since I was a kid up till now, I've always wondered about that. And it wasn't until the modern age of social media when people actually started, having dialogue and conversations and teaching seminars about what they call the gap theory. Now, the gap theory covers many things. There's a gap theory that talks about what happened at the what let there be light, and then um, let there be let first there was darkness, and now let there be light. Some people consider that the gap, and there is a gap. Our conversation today is about a gap, not the gap theory, but a gap theory that I've been wondering about. And I want to talk a little bit about that, spark a little bit of dialogue. By no means is this anything factual, anything I believe, anything that you believe, but just dialogue to make you think. So
Okay.
tonight's episode is a gap theory dialogue.
Okay. I'm going to try to follow and go with the flow because that's something I'm less, knowledgeable about, but I'm listening.
Well, we start so talking about this. Again, we want to go back. We want to go back to what inspired me. What really sparked my curiosity. And I had the opportunity many years ago to visit the Museum of Natural History in Los Angeles. In the Museum of Natural History, it's a museum, and they have these lifelike um, uh, sculptures and mannequins of hunter gatherers during the prehistoric times, and they look sort of similar to this. And as a kid growing up, my father would always also take the family to an area called Moundville, where there were Native Americans that were pretty much hunter gatherers as well. So again, I've always had this curiosity of when did these people exist, and was it 6,000 years ago? Was it 5,000 years ago? Was it 12,000 years ago? Well, carbon dating, science, now we bring in science. Carbon
Yeah.
dating says that a lot of the skeletal remains of of this era, including let me just jump ahead here. Prehistoric beings, animals, creatures, and monsters of this time have been predated through carbon dating to be millions of years old. So that's a huge gap from millions to what we perceive from a Genesis perspective. When I say Genesis, the Garden of Eden, of what people or scholars have said was 6,000 years. So 6,000 years
Okay.
compared to a million years, that's a huge gap. So this is not a we're not going to do any deep diving into any literature, but I do want to spark a dialogue with you. But I want to touch base. I want to start where I get confused. So we're going to start where Michael gets confused, and we'll pick up from there.
Okay, let's
So,
hear.
so if you could do me the honor, we're going to jump ahead. Let's start from the beginning. Let's jump into what Genesis says.
All right.
This is from the Christian Bible. I know that you are Jewish, so
Yes.
a lot of this dialogue you may not be able to relate to, but this is as an excerpt from the Christian Bible that I got
Okay.
from the Vatican website. So let's jump ahead there. I'm gonna let you do the honors.
Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them.
Thank you
That
so much.
that's from Genesis,
This
right?
is the book of
From
Genesis, Old Testament book of Genesis,
the Old
verses
Testament, right?
126 and verse 127. So
Okay.
let's focus in. And I read this, and the confusion with me starts at verse 27.
Mm-hmm.
God created
Right.
male and female. Let's just take it for what it says. Male and
Mm-hmm.
female. Now, male and female, we know what that is. But let's take a look and see what the Cambridge Dictionary says what male and female is. If
Yeah.
you can see that,
If you can, if you can zoom in a little bit,
I
my
probably
vision is not like.
can't. Let's see what I can do here. How
Yeah,
about that?
that's better. Yeah,
Okay.
better. Okay, so the male is belonging or relating to the sex that fertilizes eggs. It does not produce babies or eggs itself. For example, a male giraffe.
Correct. So
Mm-hmm.
the way this is described, it's described as an adjective. It
Yeah.
describes a sex, a male.
Okay.
Now break it. Now, what does it say about the female?
So female is belonging or relating to the sex that can give birth to young or produce eggs. So it has a productive system. Okay.
And what is it? What is the example that it gives us?
I zoom out.
It,
I
it,
can
says,
see.
it says female lions do not have manes. So
Okay.
it describes both male and female as either as a sex. We have many species on this planet: dogs,
Mm-hmm.
cats,
Right.
giraffes, lions and tigers and bears. They come as male and female,
Yeah.
right? So
Okay.
male. So if you go back to that passage, if you go back to that passage here, in which he says he created the male and female, what
Mm-hmm. Yes.
what 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 my thoughts may be is he created all these beings on the planet, male and female, and he said, "Be fruitful and
Okay.
multiply and populate the planet." That goes for wildlife, fish, sea creatures, uh, uh, plant life, ants. any type of species on the planet, he creates male and female.
Yeah.
So let's take that. He created male and female. Now let's jump
Yeah.
ahead.
But what's your confusion? What's the confusion here? And
Well, so the confusion here is he created male and female, but I think the creator went one step further. And do a deep dive into what I speculate may have happened to explain Genesis, so that I have an understanding of what happened.
okay.
I believe the creator went one step further. And I'm using the word creator here as a general term. So if you could do me a favor, let's jump one step and see what actually happened or may have
Ooh,
happened.
more reading.
So if you
Okay.
so before you start, we
Yeah.
look at the Bible as a chronological history book. There's a beginning,
Yeah.
there's a middle, there's an end. It's chronological. It doesn't just bounce around. It's chronological. So Genesis is the first, and we're going in one direction here. So then we jump from Genesis 127, 126, and 127, and then we jump a whole nother paragraph to Genesis 2:7 in
Correct.
the
Yes.
water. So this is going to be a little bit of a read, but let's see if I can have you do the honors because you read so well.
Okay. Thank you. Then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. 2:18. Then the Lord God said, "It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper as his partner." 2:21. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. Then he took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. 2:22. And the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman and brought her to the man. Um, and the last verse I can't see because it's too, I can't see it on the screen right now. If you can just zoom out,
Yes, well, I'll close it out for you.
or you can read it.
So, verse 2:23 says, Then the man said, This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for out of man this one was taken. Mm. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to leave that on the screen for a second, but I'm going to actually bring you back to the screen here. And
Okay.
I've noticed in this verse, verse 27, jumping all the way to verse 223, he doesn't mention male or female, does he?
No.
He mentions man, and then he mentions woman.
At this point, their status changed from female to a woman and from male to men.
Absolutely. It changes, the status changes, and
Hmm.
the definition changes. So let's see
Yeah.
what the definition of man and woman is. So then we go from an adjective to a noun. And a noun, which is a person, place, or thing, is described as an adult male human being. A female is an adult female human being.
Hmm.
So they are male and female because they're of different sexes, but they're described in a noun form as man and woman. So
Okay.
something, so there was, so clearly, or not clearly, or not clearly, there was some type of intervention. Now that intervention, based on just that reading, that form of reading, and I know it can be a little bit complicated and a little bit uh, confusing, but if you look at the illustration up front, some people or believers would think that this was an evolutionary process. And that
Okay. Yes.
evolutionary process ends at the image that we see below with a busy city. You see a busy city, you have different people walking, you see technology everywhere. That's what stands out to me. So either there was some type of either there was a creator, and either there was a gap or a gap in that jump between the cave people, the hunter gatherers, to the modern man.
Okay.
My
Um,
speculation is
mhm.
there was some type of intervention with creating that creation of man. God created man as something other than your typical male or female. Now, again, this is just a speculatory show. This is just a show to make you think, and to
Mhm.
make you really take a look at the Bible or the book of Genesis as it literally says, I created male and female, and then I went back and created man. Um,
Maybe if you allow me, I can add a little something because I learned Genesis, but in Hebrew, and maybe I can add something to that speculation. When you read the Old Testament, the Torah, um, we're going to describe animals as male and female. Okay,
yes.
but once the man is mentioned in the Torah, he is called Ish. Ish is men in English. Ish comes from the root word is Esh. Esh is fire. It means to straighten, to to be stronger. Because now you have come from a male to a ish, from a zachar. Zachar is male, and ish is men. You have changed your status, so now you're stronger in many aspects. So the
Interesting.
male, the male is ish. The woman is called isha, and isha. All that was added is one one letter,
Okay.
and it's to show that the woman really comes as in Hebrew we say ezer kenegdo. It means that the woman is going to be a partner and a help to her men.
Mhm.
That's why it was added that letter.
Okay.
Um, so that was just a little anecdote.
So, would you say that even in the Hebrew text, it kind of correlates to
In the
what I indicated?
I think in the Hebrew text it comes to show that the man's status has changed. Therefore, he received a different name. And that name, the root is fire. It's to be stronger, to show you that he is not an animal anymore. And maybe yes, maybe there was that evolution,
Or some other type of intervention?
which we don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about that,
Well,
but
and that is
you can
exactly
say,
what the show is about.
yeah,
To
yeah,
spark that, spark that conversation, spark that dialogue, spark that way of thinking. No, I saw a
yeah,
movie, and thank you for sharing that. I mean,
yeah.
it's
It's okay.
very enlightening. Thank you for and again, this is a very controversial type of subject, but it's something that I've always that's always been on my mind. I've often written about uh, um, fictional scenarios involving the Genesis, what happened in the Garden of Eden, etc. And the movie, and just because I have it queued up, um, the movie The Eternals. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I'll just play a small piece of that. Kind of describes maybe this is how the evolutionary process happened. So let me just share that with you.
Okay.
No audio. As you can see, there's a hunter-gatherer there. He's taken his stone weapon. It's been transformed to metal, which brings in the age of weaponry and the Bronze Age through a uh, through assistance, through either scientific or divine assistance. So that's even
Okay.
depicted in the movie The Eternals. Again, these are questions that I've always had, and that is why I'm doing this podcast to maybe get maybe receive additional insight from whoever may see this. But it's a subject that I've always wanted to talk about. It's a story or um, a dialogue that I always wanted to spark with others to see what their opinions were in regards to this particular type of
Okay.
concept out of the Book of Genesis.
And what, if I can ask, what sparked your interest or your speculation? I mean, I suppose that happened when you were in your, I don't know, teenage years, or what happened?
Very good, very good. You and I did a show that never aired, and we did a show that never aired due to technical issues we were having. This was towards the end of 2023, and I hate it was one of those lightning in a bottle type shows, and we haven't been able to reproduce that show. But these ideas about the subject matter that I just talked about are a combination of many stories that I've created in my own mind. I like to write. I like to create. I as a kid growing up, I had an entire universe of characters in my mind. I've always been a very imaginative type person. The Genesis story to me is a magical story. It's a magical story. It's a story of um, divine elements. It's a story of beings out there that are powerful, more powerful than we are. Superhuman strength. The story of Samson. The story of Moses parting the Red Sea. And stories of these um, 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 Enoch, story of Enoch and Methuselah living to 900 years. These were powerful people that in today's time would be looked at as your superhumans.
Right.
And the story of Genesis and the evolution of the caveman and how that happened. And I've always known about the prehistoric time, but was the prehistoric time actually mentioned in Genesis? So again, I've always had these stories in my mind of what if? What if this was this? What if this was this? Oh my goodness, if I was there, and how strong was Samson? Could he have picked up a car? Was he
Right.
the original Hulk? So it's these
Yeah.
stories and these ideas and concepts that I've always had in my mind. Some I've written about, some I talk about. So that's what sparked me. Just having an over
That's nice.
imaginative uh,
Yeah.
imagination to create, to to create and to manipulate and to just because I grew up, as a child, and not really and spending a lot of time alone. I had the time to create these wonderful what if stories in my mind.
So it's nice because uh, the Bible and the Bible figures and all the stories, they were kind of like the equivalent of comic books in a
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
It was kind of like your fantasy world where superheroes and I don't know, like you said, Samson was merging. They were merging together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, this subject wasn't meant to be a religious story. It was just a podcast to inspire you to think, to trigger dialogue, and to what if, you know um,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
type of thing. The And we'll probably do more stories about this. I would love to do a story on Samson. I would love to do a story on Moses. These are epic stories that need to be told,
Yeah.
and it was
Actually, Moses is one of my superheroes
there.
from the Bible. I like
You go.
Moses.
I wish, I wish that we could relocate. I know there've been. I'm fascinated with searchers of the Garden of Eden. I'm fascinated with searchers of the Ark of the Covenant. I'm fascinated with what's all inside of the pyramids, and
Right.
things like that. Beautiful, wonderful stories. And honestly, when I do visit Israel, all that comes back to me, and knowing that the soil that I step on was the soil that these ancient characters, these
Yeah.
ancient heroes, once walked on. That's a beautiful thing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think about it, yeah, because every time you come, you like to touch the stones of the buildings, or even in the way you're walking, you feel like every step has,
Or
it's important to be there.
picking up the rocks of Caesarea, picking up
Or
the rocks
take,
of Masada, picking up the rocks,
yeah,
picking up these stones. It's
that's
a beautiful
right.
thing. So, I you know, this has just been a story that I wanted to share. I know that uh, we have a lot of other stories that we want to bring to you. We want to start doing more of these podcasts. We want to be able to bring you more topics. This is the topic, a random revelations topic, the random revelations topic. But we will be bringing more content to our audience about subject matters that are maybe a little bit more relevant to
Yes.
what's happening in this world, which we were going to do, and I
Well,
decided to just do this.
yeah.
This
Well, thank you for sharing. That was very enlightening. And yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I learned a few things.
Well, and then there was one other thought that I had. There was one other thought that I had, but it skipped my mind. But maybe I'll think about it and I'll share it with you on our next show. With that being said, this has been a well, we've gone almost 30 minutes, so I think we've just about met our benchmark for this today's show. Is there anything that you want to close us out with, or anything that you want to share with us? I know
Well,
that.
I have the only thing that I would share. I mean, doesn't have anything to do with the topic today. It's just that it's Holocaust Day today
Thank you.
in Israel, and in here in Israel, we take it very seriously. So at 10 o'clock, at 10 a.m. this morning, we're going to have sirens where basically everybody stops and you have to stand for 1 minute of silence out of respect. So it's impressive because you can be in the streets having a coffee in a coffee shop somewhere, and people will literally stop, get up, and stand. I mean, you can ignore it because you hear that siren for 1 minute, and you're like, okay, I gotta show my respect. Even if you're gonna be in driving on the highway, people will stop their car, literally get out of their car and stand. So that's how seriously we take it here, and that's happening today at 10 a.m. And that's the
And
kind
that's
of atmosphere we have today here.
and that's 10 a.m. your time. That will be midnight my time. So if I'm still up, I will
Right?
stand up and show my respects as well. With that being
Well,
said,
thank
please
you.
have a wonderful day, and our entire audience have a wonderful day. and always
Thank
focus on
you. Yes.
love and happiness. And we'll
And we're looking forward to the next podcast.
absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye. Thank you.